Let's get to the Halloween edition of Impact. This is your Brace for Impact TNA Impact reaction. I thank everybody for being here. I didn't think the show was great. I didn't think it was a great follow-up for Bound for Glory, which I felt like Bound for Glory. It's kind of getting a mixed reaction. I think some people really liked it. Some people really didn't like it. I happen to find the show enjoyable. I think the down part of the show was obviously Nick Nemeth retaining over Joe Hendry, but I didn't. I actually really enjoyed Bound for Glory. I'm like on that side, but I did see some really like negative comments on Bound for Glory. But because there's so many positive and there's a lot of stories in the fallout, I thought that they really had to have a kick-ass show here, and they didn't really have a kick-ass show. They didn't. So the show starts, and this is a Halloween show. So I was hoping that they would have Halloween themed matches, kind of like their version of a Halloween Havoc, but they didn't have that either. They did Halloween theme graphics, but nothing like, if you take away the graphics, nothing on the show like screamed Halloween other than Frankie Kazarian dressing up as Joe Hendry. I think that's a missed opportunity. They missed that opportunity on Halloween to do like a legit big time Halloween show. And they're probably like, oh, well, you know what? People are trick-or-treating. They're not going to watch the show anyway. Most people don't watch the show live. Most people watch the show either on DVR or on TNA+. There's not a lot of people watching this thing as it happens, okay? So, they got to get out of the mindset that like, hey, we don't really have to put our best foot forward because we don't think anybody's going to be watching at the time that they're supposed to be watching. It's like, you guys need to put your best foot forward all the time because this stuff lives throughout the week, right? That is proven. Like their +7 numbers are probably like the percentage of people who watch on DVR or the percentage that watch on TNA Plus versus watch live, like on demand on TNA Plus versus watch live. It's got to be pretty high. They'll never tell us, but it's got to be pretty high. But they kicked off with a very WWE segment. And the talking segment just lasted forever. It's like, this could have been 5 minutes and it would have been way more effective. But I'm pretty sure it lasted like between this one and then when Alicia Edwards came out, like over 20 minutes. But Frankie Kazarian comes out and Joe Hendry's music hits, and it turns out it's Frankie in a Joe Hendry wig, and he's wearing Joe Hendry's clothes. And he comes out and he's doing the fake accent. Gotta say the crowd was booing the shit out of him. So so, and he was doing the Joe Hendry stomp clap, the we will rock you deal, the pandering that Joe Hendry does that I kind of like, that I criticize him for. So Kazarian's like right on this. Like Joe Hendry spends way too much time pandering in the matches and a lot less. He needs a lot more ass kicking time than pandering time. But anyway, he's calling himself an idiot who got lucky for viral fame, and then all of a sudden, Joe Hendry's song hits again, and then it's the real Joe Hendry. Will the real Joe Hendry please stand up? He gets in the ring. Kazarian backs off and exit, but again does the butt out stomp clap routine to his music in the way from ringside. And as Hendry runs down Kazarian on the mic for being old, which I would not go there. He didn't look old. He didn't wrestle old. You're telling people not to care about him. I would not go there with Frankie. Frankie's a better wrestler than Joe Hendry and is probably in better, and it actually looks like he's in a lot better shape. So I wouldn't be calling the brother old. He could probably run circles around Joe. But he says that basically that there's a big conspiracy against him, and Nick Nemeth was in on it. So which brings out Nick Nemeth. They get into a spat and an argument. He said that he went to Santino and said that Joe Hendry deserves a title shot tonight, but Santino turned it down, so it turned Santino into a heel. The crowd boos that, and then all of a sudden we hear Alicia Edwards, and she says her catchphrase. So at some point during it, they said that Nick Nemeth said, look, I get it, the system is flawed, which brings out Alicia Edwards. But she comes out with Eddie Edwards and Fandango. No Moose, no Brian Myers. I don't like, Moose should have been there. But I get the feeling that because the tag team main event was Eddie Edwards and Fandango, that Myers might have been hurt because he wasn't on this show at all. So he might have been injured, or maybe he had another booking. I don't know. But so this recapper, though, pretty funny on the Observer site. The recapper thinks that Myers is there, but it's Fandango. He's calling Fandango Brian Myers. He doesn't know the difference between Myers and Fandango, which is pretty funny. So anyway, they drone on and on and on, and then that sets up a match between Eddie Edwards and Fandango versus Nick Nemeth and Joe Hendry. So we're doing that whole, can they coexist thing with Nemeth and Hendry. And so yeah, we get that segment, and then we go to the commercial break, and then Alicia Edwards is still in the ring, and then she's running down Masha Slamovich, which brings out Masha Slamovich, and then they jump Masha because Masha's defending herself from Alicia Edwards, and then Jordan Grace hits the ring. So they're doing the same storyline. So they just did it with Joe Hendry and Nick Nemeth, where the two baby faces who wrestled at Bound for Glory, they still respect each other and will have each other's backs, but can they coexist because there's still a little bit of heat there? So they just did it with Joe Hendry and Nick Nemeth, and then they followed it up with doing the same story, the same bit, with Jordan Grace and Masha Slamovich, because Tasha Steelz and Alicia Edwards are running them down. So anyway, that turns into a brawl. So there you go. So that match gets set up for next week. So it lasted forever. It wasn't great. There were some funny parts, some entertaining parts, but as a whole, the back-to-back talking segments, doing the same gimmick, two different storylines with two different acts, or the same storyline with two different acts back-to-back is tough. And it really tells me, and I've been saying it for a long time, this creative team is completely out of ideas. Very paint by numbers, very I don't know what to do. So we'll just do what's been done on television forever. And I mean, they don't have any creative ideas whatsoever. I get the feeling, before Hard to Kill, we're going to get another contract signing, and we're going to do, the same storyline all throughout the show. So not good, not a good way to open the show. Not really a good to capitalize on, Bound for Glory weekend. Let's see. Billy says Myers was at a wedding on Sunday. Oh, that's good. So he's not hurt. Okay. I had not seen any reports that he was hurt. I just felt like something was up. He wasn't on the TV show. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So let's go. First Class defeats the Rascalz. Look, First Class defeating the Rascalz with how hot the Rascalz are is a war crime. Okay. But I get it. This was like a necessary war crime with some collateral damage. The Hardys are heels. Okay. And I think Dobby was the one that made this point. The Hardys are heels. The Hardys are baby faces. So they need heels to work with. So the only heel tag team they have is First Class. Now one can say that Jake something and Hammerstone are the other heel tag team, but they've only teamed once. Now they did team at the tapings, and I think they're going to be in a match coming up, but that would give them a grand total of 2 matches over the course of 2 months in the history of their tag team. They've been wrestling singles matches. They had one tag team match on the pre-show at Victory Road, I believe, and they wrestled a series of single matches after that. And then they come in, and I think they finally wrestled another tag team match in October. So you're 2 tag team matches. I'm not considering them a tag team just yet until they start tag teaming every week. It's ridiculous. They TNA can't afford local jabrones for these guys to crush. They should be on TV every week. They should come out a couple times a week, a couple tapings, or every taping they should come out a couple of times crushing nerds. That's what they should do. But anyway, I thought this match was okay. It was decent. The Rascalz are pretty much over, but AJ Francis hits the down payment choke slam to Miguel and got the victory. And looks like they will very likely be the first contenders to the TNA Tag Team Championships, probably at Turning Point in November. That would make sense to me. And then Eric Young, Jonathan Gresham, and Steve Maclin defeated Josh Alexander and his mystery opponents. Okay. So TNA did it again. They teased mystery partners for Josh Alexander, knowing damn well that the mystery was going to be the good hands, and that was going to lead to a disappointment. They got to be thankful that nobody actually watches the show but me, because I'm the only one talking about this stuff. Like, it's cheap tactic to tease mystery partners, and then it just be like some jabrones from your roster. Now, the good hands are like a decent tag team, but you could have just announced that. You didn't have to be like, oh, what's the mystery? Well, Sinner and Saint, they were held up at Customs. That's like a legit story. So the good hands were just filling in, and they'd already had this booked. And so what they didn't want to do is not do the match. So they put the good hands in their place. I think that's fine, but you don't need to tease early in the week that there's going to be some mystery. Who could it be? Could it be somebody from, like, I saw some people saying, oh, maybe it's people from Team Canada, like, oh, geez, like Johnny Devine and A1. And I was like, look, you're getting people worked up, and you're not going to deliver. Like, you're not going to be able to deliver on this, so don't tease it. You fucking idiots. You suck. Like Tommy Dreamer and Delirious, like TNA's creative team, they need to clean house. And Gail Kim, Tommy, you guys got to clean house. You guys have no ideas whatsoever. You suck so bad for doing stuff like this. It's just cheap shit. Anyway, Eric Young, Jonathan Gresham, and Steve Maclin win. Steve Maclin they basically featured Steve Maclin like a headliner, which is cool. So the feud is Maclin and Josh Alexander, and they're making it like Macklin's got a new theme song. Like, he came out last. They're trying to really build up Maclin as the next big star, as the next big babyface. I want to see him be more of an ass kicker, and I think that they started that here. So Maclin hit the KIA for the victory. And so we're going to keep that coming. So we got a look back at Speedball versus Vikingo from Bound for Glory. This happened because Vikingo got hurt versus Trent Seven. So they just showed this in its place. I thought that was smart. I would have showed the whole match because it was better than anything on the show. But I can see why they didn't, because people just paid for it and they want to get more pay-per-view buys, because the late buys coming in are pretty good. But yeah, so Vikingo got hurt in the Trent Seven match, so this basically replaced it. So it was fun to kind of go back and look. That was a really good match. 4.5 stars from Dave Meltzer. And then we get Ash by Elegance defeating Danny Luna. This sucked. Just so bad. And here's what happened. Here's what's happening with the Knockouts tag team. Tell me if you've heard this one before. Ash by Elegance and Heather Reckless just formed a tag team. They literally had their first match on the pre-show. So they created the tag team. So at this point, as of Saturday night, they got 3. Okay. But then Spooky Chew and Rosemary, they lose to Spitfire and then immediately break up. So now we're back down to 2. So now we have to get Heather Reckless and Ash by Elegance to become the next contenders for the tag titles. So what are we going to do? Well, we're not going to give them tag team matches because we have no other tag teams. We're not going to give them tag team matches. So what are we going to do? We're going to do singles matches. And that's what they did. So they had this singles match, and then next week there's another singles match. And that's going to lead to a tag team title match. So you don't win tag team matches to get the tag team titles because they have no tag teams. They're going to get an automatic title shot based off of singles matches. That's what they're going to do. So instead of actually building up a tag team division, they're just going to have their tag teams wrestle singles matches and then put them in a tag team title match. It's so fucking lame. It sucks so bad. Just get rid of the division. I think somebody said they should create a Knockouts X division. And I'm like, that would be so much better than the tag titles, because the tag titles have been like, it's like getting a toy with your Happy Meal. There's just no reason to have it. It sucks so bad. So anyway, Ash won. So there you go. So yeah, now they'll be the next contenders. Lei Ying Lee defeated Maggie Moore. I wish her name was Maggie May. I love that song by Rod Stewart. But I thought this match was another okay match. After the match was like, it was kind of like a jabron match. I think Maggie Moore might be signed here. She's on the next set of tapings. So, or at least they're giving her another look. So she might be sticking around a little bit more. She seemed like she was fine though. She's way taller than Lei Ying Lee. But afterwards, Savannah Evans made her surprise return for the first time in months. She attacks Lee in the corner. She was celebrating. She yells at her, "My time, not yours." Choke slams her and leaves her laying. I kind of like that. I think that Savannah Evans has something. I think she's like a pretty decent worker. She's a beast. And it's cool that she's back. I honestly thought she wasn't in the company anymore, but maybe she was hurt or something, but she hadn't been around in a long time. So it's cool to see her being brought back, and hopefully she can get Lei Ying Lee over. So good stuff. And now we go to the main event. Eddie Edwards and JDC defeated Nick Nemeth and Joe Hendry. I thought the match was good. Their main event tag matches are always pretty good. Lots of pandering from Joe Hendry, of course. It was the typical paint by numbers, can they coexist type of stuff. But Hendry accidentally clotheslines Nemeth. So there's your story. And then Edwards follows up with a Boston knee party for the win. So Edwards gets the victory over Nick Nemeth. So I get the feeling Eddie Edwards is going to wrestle Nemeth at Turning Point. And if that's the case, I think that's going to be a pretty good match. Edwards gets his one TNA Plus special title match a year, so there you go. He always delivers. He's a really good wrestler, and he always loses. And him and Nemeth, I think, will have a really good match. And so Hannafin mentions it being the first time Nemeth has been pinned in TNA wrestling in the past 6 months. So yeah, the last person to pin him was Moose at Rebellion. So there you go. And then afterwards, Hendry tries explaining himself to Nemeth, but Nemeth doesn't want to hear it. Nemeth leaves the ring. Hendry follows him up and tries to stop him again. Nemeth says, "Everybody gets one." And the two continue to heated exchange until Nemeth storms off angry again. Hendry tries again to catch up with him. Nemeth points and yells at him one more time. He yells, "Got it," and then heads up the entrance tunnel. Hendry looks upset. And then Hannafin plugs to go to the TNA socials to follow Nemeth through the entrance tunnel to see what happens next. So then when they go to the socials, and they got a video of Ryan Nemeth there with Santino, and he's like getting all hot at Hendry pushing his brother. Nemeth comes in, and Ryan wants to jump Hendry, and Nemeth's like, "Look, it was an accident. It was a mistake. No big deal." But they're getting heated, and then Hendry comes out, and then they all get into it. And Joe confronts Santino about not getting a title shot. Santino's like, "Look, you lost. You got to work your way back up." I'm like, okay, that actually makes sense. That actually makes sense. So they continue pushing and shoving, and then it looks like we're gonna get a match between Ryan Nemeth, who stinks, utterly not a good wrestler, against Joe Hendry. And maybe at the tapings, I don't know if that's a Turning Point match, but so yeah, that was Impact. Kind of a nothing show, to be honest with you. But I did like the after thing on the TNA socials with the backstage between the Nemeths and Joe Hendry and Santino. I thought that was shot very well, and I thought that was actually pretty interesting. And now we're starting Joe Hendry's road to the title. Like I said at Bound for Glory, and I said the night after Bound for Glory on my YouTube live stream, my Q&A that I did there. I think that I think that they think that they got something with Hendry similar to what WWE had with Cody, and they're going to drag out this title chase. When it ends, I don't know. I'm done predicting when he's going to get the title, because I thought he was going to get it at Bound for Glory, and I was completely wrong. Are they going to do the road to Genesis? I don't know. Or is it going to be the live TNA Impact in San Antonio? I don't know, but we'll see. Billy says, "Do you think Turning Point will be a normal TNA Plus special? There's no taping with it, so I think it'll be more like a UK Plus special, and it's more like a house show." Well, yeah, I think they're taping it in conjunction with WrestleCon, right? I think it's called WrestleCon or WrestleCade, so it's going to be there. So I just hope that the production quality is pretty good, because I think the last time they did that, the production quality was not great. So hopefully they bring their production team and it actually looks pretty good. But yeah, you're right. There is no TV. There is no taping afterwards, but I do think they're going to put some big matches on there because it's a TNA Plus special. So, but you could be right. It could be similar to the one last year in the UK, where we basically know the outcome before we go into it. Like, look, if it's Eddie and Nick Nemeth, we know that Nick Nemeth's not dropping the title to Eddie. I was the second time Edwards has pinned Nemeth this year. That's right. Yeah, because the Nemeth brothers wrestled the System on one of those shows, and Eddie pinned Nemeth. So that's a good shout. Io says, love the ending, to be honest, the friction with Nemeth and Hendry. Yeah, I think they actually got a kind of a decent little storyline going. We'll see if it catches fire. But they actually made this storyline finally interesting. I think what's really going to put it over the top is if Nemeth actually turns heel at one point. I think that's where you really get people interested, like a slow heel turn with Nemeth. And then Billy says, great line by Hendry. If I need to start at the bottom, I'll start with you, Ryan. Yeah, I thought that was pretty clever. And that is the bottom, because Ryan Nemeth is kind of a bottom level talent. I do think that he would be a good manager. You know, like if they want to do a manager for Jake Something and Hammerstone, I think Ryan Nemeth would be a good manager. I also think the Rohit Raju would be pretty good in that spot. But hey guys, I'm getting the hook. I got to roll out. I appreciate everybody for being here. Thank you to Patreon subscribers for supporting the show. Thank you to YouTube. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it. That's going to do it for me this week. And until next time, mahalo.